Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, working out some fighting words. Before we go any further, I need you to like and subscribe. So in this video, I want to do a reaction to Manny Pacquiao versus Yordenis Ugas and his loss to Yordenis Ugas. And congratulations to Yordenis Ugas for winning the fight. I don't think too many people were expecting that. However, I did make the fight breakdowns, and I did give my prediction saying that Manny should win. However, I also said in that prediction what would be the cause of him losing. And the number one cause of him losing in that prediction would be impulse and not pacing himself. You're the smaller guy, you're the older guy, you have a lot more miles on you than Ugas has. And you were pushing a little too hard. Like I said in my breakdown, Ugas is not a combination guy. He's a 1-2 guy. Every once in a while, he might 1-2-3, but that's about, or 1-2-1. That's his go-to. But Pacquiao needed to put his foot on the gas early, sustain that, but not go over the top and go full throttle. Especially, I knew in the latter rounds, Ugas was gonna be a lot harder to put away or just flat out defeat. And listen, this video wasn't so much, it's not gonna be so much a recap of what happened. I think we all know what happened. Everybody tuned in. However, if you want me to do that and actually break it down round for round, send me a message and I'll be more than happy to do that. But my question is, what happens now? So if you look at the post-fight conference where Manny Pacquiao spoke, although he didn't actually say, I am retiring, he made it very clear, I'm probably not coming back. Coach Freddie Roach also made it clear, this might be the last time you see him. And his wife made it pretty clear, I don't want you doing this anymore. We got more than enough money. You need to pack it in. You know, this is getting dangerous, and, you know, these guys are bigger than you, and, you know, and Manny also mentioned something that I knew was going to be a factor because of his age. And he said, you know, his body, I don't know how much more my body can take of this. Does he really want to go through another fight camp? Probably not. Does he want to go? I mean, and it's not like he's taking the Floyd Mayweather route post-retirement / coming back, where he's fighting people who are novices at best, you know, or just people that we know Floyd is going to beat. I mean, the toughest person that Floyd fought once he retired was Conor McGregor. You know, it was believable because he was a combat sportsman. It was believable because he was younger. It was believable because it was bigger. But Floyd was never in any danger whatsoever in that fight. And that is exactly why he had that fight, because it was no danger. It was all reward, zero risk. And that's why he had the fight. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, continues to test himself. Kudos to him. Shout out for you, you know, for doing such. But there comes a point where it's just not safe to be going up against these young lions. And they are young lions. They've been groomed on you. They've been watching you their whole lives. And it's their dream to get in there with you. And trust me, they've been processing what they would do if they were ever in the ring with you. And I think Ugas was no different. Ugas was no different. He saw an opportunity and he's like, I am not letting this slip out of my hands. And you got to give him credit for that. You know, yeah, you're the underdog, but even though he was the champion coming into the fight, but you got to give him credit for that he didn't let an opportunity slip through his hands. He saw it. He didn't just see the name Manny Pacquiao and that he could put that on his resume, but he also saw the amount of money that's going to come from fighting Manny Pacquiao and what's going to come after. Say he win against Manny Pacquiao. He took full advantage of it, and we have to give him the credit for it. It doesn't mean that we don't love Manny. It doesn't mean that we don't appreciate what Manny Pacquiao has done for the sport, but we have to give credit where credit is due. And Ugas didn't let it slip out of his hands. Ugas was in that fight. You know, he was definitely, especially in the latter rounds, he was in the fight. And I knew he was going to be harder to beat as the fight went on. Yes, the Keith Thurman fight with Manny Pacquiao was like 2 years ago, but that fight was grueling. that fight was grueling. Like, it took a lot out of Manny Pacquiao. And the reality is, I thought about this, and there was a reason why I let, like, a day go by before I even thought to comment, and make a video, was I don't know if I want to see Manny Pacquiao back. And that doesn't mean that I don't love seeing him fight. But there comes a point where, it just isn't safe. These guys are only getting younger and bigger and stronger, and you're only getting older, and you do have a lot of mileage under the hood. You have a lot of mileage. And there just comes a point where it's not safe. People say whatever they want about Floyd, but he realized my body can't take all this punishment. Yeah, he's fighting somebody, Logan Paul, who's 200 pounds. But a dude who's 200 pounds who doesn't know how to punch, he might as well be fighting somebody who's like 155 pounds. He doesn't know how to punch. Manny Pacquiao knows how to punch. And these guys that Manny Pacquiao is fighting, they know how to punch. Ugas is from Cuba. They know how to punch. They are some of the most skilled fighters in the world. So to go up against a guy like that on short notice, you can't really set up a game plan, because even if you know a guy, you can't really set up a game plan for him in that amount of time. Do I think with a proper training camp and a game plan that Manny Pacquiao could beat Yordenis Ugas? Actually, yeah, I still do believe that. But do I want to see them run it back? No, not really. I don't want to see him run it back. Pacquiao physically didn't look like he wanted to run it back. Many times I've seen him in defeat and he was still chipper. This was the first time that I've seen him in defeat, like when he fought Floyd Mayweather. He came out smiling to the press conference, even though he lost. He was smiling. Now it could have been that he made so much money from the fight, which, there were no losers, but it could also mean that I shared the ring with another great tonight. So, he's great, I'm great, we're great, we made a lot of money. Could mean that. Or it could just simply mean, live to fight another day and I'll be back. Could just also just mean that. This was the first time where, in a long time, since he hasn't lost in a long time, but this is the first time where he lost a match, and you could, although he was wearing shades, you could just see it in his demeanor. His body language said a lot. His head was pretty low, like, you could just see it in him. Like, yeah, you might have gotten beaten physically, but also something inwardly was just like, this was the last hurrah. And I definitely don't know if I want to go through this again. I don't want to go through a fight camp again. I don't want to go through a weight cut again. I don't want to get in a ring with somebody and go 12 rounds again. Like, 12 rounds is a long time when someone's hitting you. Like, yes, it's a long time when you're just punching. If you just get on a bag and you go 12 rounds, it can be a little grueling. But 12 rounds is something else when somebody's hitting you, somebody's trying to take your head off, and somebody who's skilled like Yordenis Ugas trying to take your head off. So I don't really know if he'll be back. I mean, everything would suggest that he didn't want to come back. Now, if you look at the post-press conference, you would also notice that he was reading from a little note. Now, my question is, which would best answer the question if he's coming back or not, would be, when did he write this? Did he lose the fight, go to the locker room, write this down, come out and read it? Or was this pre-written, had it in his shirt pocket, say if I lose, I pull this out and I read this? That's the question. When did he write that? Was it before or was it after? So that's the question. And I think if you answer that question, well, then we would know his true thoughts. And I think maybe it was it could have been a precaution. Like, let me write this just beforehand. In which case, this is goodbye and thank you for the many years of supporting me. Or, who knows, maybe there was something written on the back of it and it was like, I love you guys, I'll be back for Errol Spence once it gets better. I don't know. I don't know if there was something written on the back. I do know, however, that he had a note. My question about the note is, when was the note written? Was it before the fight or was it in the locker room after the fight? I suppose we'll never know, and maybe it's not even that important. But I say that's our biggest and best clue to suggest his thoughts on if he will be back. Now, where does this leave the welterweight division? Earl's gone for X amount of time. Normally, when you get a retina tear, it's not the safest thing in the world, and it can happen again if you were to get back in the ring. So where does that leave Errol? I really don't know, because what is he really coming back to? I guess he's coming back to a unification bout with Yordenis Ugas. Is it going to be as exciting as Errol facing Manny Pacquiao? No, it won't be as exciting. However, we will have a unification bout. We got to take what we can get in boxing, because all these matches are, being canceled. So we got to take what we can get. At least we'll get a unification bout. I don't know outside of Manny Pacquiao where Errol Spence gets a big payday again. Outside of one name, Canelo. That's it. However, that was already spoken of before, where Canelo said that he would fight Errol Spence if Errol will come up to 160 pounds. Errol said, no problem, because I'm around that size. I'm a little heavier than that anyway, just walking around when I'm not doing anything. My question with that is, you just got a retina tear, and yeah, he's healed up from the car accident. However, something like that does take a lot out of you. And it might be a few years before your body is fully acclimated back to completely 150% functioning. But the only other place where you're going to get a big payday, like what you would have had with Manny Pacquiao, would be Canelo Alvarez. And the only thing that worries me about that fight is how active Canelo Alvarez is. He's by far the most active fighter out there, hands down. What is it, like every 6 months he's back in the ring? He's very active. Most of these dudes, you can't get them in the ring twice a year. Canelo, if he could, it's like he'd go in there 4 or 5 times a year. But he's very, very active. He's a lot bigger. I think he's a year younger than Errol Spence. So you just went from possibly facing Manny Pacquiao to now kind of like a juggernaut over here, in a sense. Somebody who's bigger, younger, possibly stronger. I would actually go with being stronger. We've all seen Canelo's power moving up in weight, going all the way up to 168. So I'm going to say definitely stronger. And if not as skilled as you, more skilled than you. So I don't know. I definitely think that Errol is the type of guy that would take that fight. He said he would take it before. So I know he would take it. And to be honest with you, in order for him to get a huge payday like that again, like what he would have had with Manny Pacquiao, would be Canelo Alvarez. It's a very risky and very dangerous fight. Very dangerous fight. From start to finish. Like, he would have to be in his A game, and he would have to start training yesterday just to get ready for that. Keep in mind, he's out again with another injury. So I don't know where that leaves things. I do believe Errol would come back and he would face Yordenis Ugas and unify. That would be the best and the smartest thing to do. You're going to build back up your stock. You've been gone with an injury. You come back, you unify. You have more belts, you have more stock. You have more stock, you gain more money. You gain more money, you can call more shots. You call more shots, you can get that Canelo fight. You get that Canelo fight, you could possibly retire. So there you go. So those are my thoughts on that. But again, let me know, send me some comments down below if you want me to actually break the fight down. I will be more than happy to do that. That's my specialty, and I love doing that. So I just didn't want to kick a horse in the head, and just keep beating it or whatever, especially after I did the fight breakdowns. But I do know how you guys always respond to the fight breakdown. So if you want it, you just send me a message, and I'll have it sooner than later. But tell me what you think down below on everything that I discussed, and I'll be hitting you back soon.